Hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about the public science activities in my trip to China in January 2020. These activities were under Working Package 2 of UK-China GrEAT network. My motivation was quite simple. First, I wanted to deliver gravitational wave knowledge to the public. Usually it was through public talks where we present slides of text, pictures, audios, and videos to the public. But this time, I wanted to try something new, something more hands-on and interactive. So I contacted Dr. Chris North, and he gave me materials on 3 workshops. These workshops were experiments and observation oriented. I will talk a bit more details in a moment. My second goal was to make talented Chinese students interested in this field. And if you look at the map on the right, which is a bit outdated, but still we can see that there is no Chinese ground-based detectors planned or under construction. The talented Chinese students may not know about this field. And we know that ground-based detectors can detect gravitational waves at different frequencies than the space-based detectors. They detect different sources. So it is important to attract talented students to contribute to this field. And third, my third goal was to attract those highly talented Chinese students to study in the UK. I think I had, and I still have, a unique view of the education systems in several different countries. I received most of my fundamental academic training in China and my PhD training in the US. And back in January, I had been working in the UK for more than a year and now more than 2 years. I knew that the programs here were very strong and needed more talents to make a stronger and sustainable research community. Besides, gravitational wave astronomy is big science and highly requires collaboration, especially international collaboration. So for the students to study in the UK, it is a great way for them to develop their talents and to learn about communication and teamwork, which are somewhat lacked in China's education. The situation is improving though. In return, these talented students can contribute to the UK science community, which has high impacts globally. Now, let's take a look at the workshops that I were going to run. There were 2 experiments and 1 data analysis focused activity. These were developed with the support from Cardiff University, LIGO Virgo collaboration, and STFC, the Science and Technology Facilities Council in UK. Then let's take a glimpse of those 3 activities. Activity A is a neat demonstration of seismic isolation. To detect the gravitational waves, we need to record the motions of detector mirrors caused by the gravitational waves. However, these motions are jammed or disturbed by the perturbed by the movement of the earth ground. And to reduce the effect from ground movement, we suspend the mirrors on pendulums. This experiment concisely illustrates these principles. Activity Pack B is on interferometry. We use microwaves, which have larger wavelength than laser beams. With a microwave interferometer, students can measure the wavelength using a ruler that we use every day. because the wavelengths are in millimeters. So the requirements for the instruments are lower than when we use laser beams. Activity pack E is gravitational wave data analysis. Now let's take a look at the instruments. This photo was taken in Chris' office before the Christmas, after he showed me a test run. Some of the instruments were common in a Chinese university, and some were not. They would have to be purchased. Both time and funding were a bit tight at that moment, so I chose to carry them in China. For example, the ones on the right, the microwave interferometer, the blue ones, and also the blue one in the middle, cylinder shaped. It's a signal generator that models ground movement. These were a bit heavy, though, and I would like to tell you an anecdote about this. On December, so after the Christmas, I was checking in at the counter in the airport. I placed the workshop printouts and the brochures of Cardiff University in my 20-inch carry-on luggage, together with important items of my own, because I didn't want to lose them if I made them a checked luggage. I held the bubble-wrapped gravitational wave instruments in a bag in my hand because I was afraid they'd be wrecked if I placed them in the luggage. And on my back was my backpack that contained my laptop and essential documents. Then I was stopped by the KLM staff. They told me that the total weight could not exceed 12 kilograms, including the carry-on luggage, my backpack, and the instrument bag. Well, in the past, with other flights, I had my carry-on luggage weighed as requested. Sometimes they ask for that, but no one had ever asked me to weigh my backpack. That's usually excluded, but KLM insisted that their policy was that, and their strict policy would not let go that extra few kilos and asked me to pay for it. So you can see on the left, there was a receipt here. There is a receipt. So have to be prepared for this type of things. Then everything was okay. My first stop was Peking University. The heads of their Astro Club were very interested in this topic and organized the talk. We also borrowed necessary instruments from the physics labs, and the talk was given in the Department of Astronomy. So on January 10th, one day before the talk, we tested the instruments, and they were all good. These instruments traveled half of Earth to fulfill their mission, and they did it successfully. It was half a month before the Chinese Lunar New Year in 2020, and the students had just had their final exams and were free. So it was a great time to have this talk. And on the left, you can see a text message in Chinese. It says, some car could enter the Peking University main campus between 3:19 p.m. to 7:19 p.m. on January 10th. PKU was a big university, and the physics lab where we had our test run was outside of the main campus. The talk would be in the Department of Astronomy, which was in the main campus. So we had to carry the instruments there. PKU had rules that those who did not study or work in PKU could not enter the main campus freely. Well, it makes sense though, because otherwise the campus would be jammed by tourists. So we had to make an appointment to get in, and it was at a very short notice, but we made it. Then on January 11th, I gave a 2-hour-long presentation from 10 a.m. to noon, and it was followed by a 1-hour question and answer session. Usually, each workshop activity takes a couple of hours, but because the students were ready for the topics, so I squeezed all the 3 into 2 hours. The first activity was on microwave interferometer. I first explained the principles, then asked 3 volunteers to come up to the front to each take a data point. Well, that was to measure the distance it required to move along the ruler to make the voltmeter show 2 adjacent maximum. Each data point can then derive a value of the wavelength. Then averaging the 3 data points, the 3 wavelengths, the audience had collaborated to obtain the microwave wavelength. Teamwork, which was great. Notice that there were a few female students. One volunteered to take a data point, but I don't have a photo of her to show you here. The second activity was demonstration of seismic isolation for LIGO detectors. You can see that 2 laser beams shooting from left hit at a mirror that is suspended or attached to a pendulum hanging there to the right. And the beams get reflected to the screen on the blackboard, 2 red dots. I also invited students to volunteer. We can see that the volunteering student in red clothes sits in the front and tunes the ampere meter. The ampere meter is connected to this blue hanging signal generator that mimics the ground movement. And it was a very interesting experiment. The students were very interested and excited. In the end, I briefly introduced gravitational wave data analysis. I used the measurement of Hubble constant as an example. Gravitational waves provide an independent measurement of distance, and the distance can be substituted into Hubble's law to deduce Hubble constant. After the 3 workshop activities, we had a 1-hour-long question and answer session. the students were so interested that they asked lots of questions. Many of them were brilliant. They were like good research topics, and I couldn't answer some of them, or most of them. In the end, we had a group photo that was tradition. That was a tradition for the PKU astronomy club, and you can see that we are holding a flag. It's the astronomy club's flag, and it says YAS, the Youth Astronomy Society. They have this tradition to take a photo with a speaker. On the left, there is a girl in blue, in baby blue. She's a second year high school student, now third year high school student, and the rest of them were PKU undergrads or grads. Then my second stop was in Beijing Normal University. We also borrowed instruments from being used Beijing Normal University's physics labs. I demonstrated the 3 workshops to a few faculty and PhD students. They would then organize outreach activities later. That was the plan. I visited Sun Yat-sen University in January 15 to 17th. Sun Yat-sen University is in Zhuhai City in Guangdong Province, which is very south of China. The position is like Florida to the US. But the outreach activity had to be approved by the school heads, and that would take a while, so it did not work out in that visit. I also met with a friend in Tsinghua University, and I introduced the workshops in our meeting. We planned to hold an event, but it did not work out due to the pandemic. On January 18th or 19th, a couple of days after I came back from Sun Yat-sen University, the fact that the disease could spread from person to person was made widely known to the public in China. It's like just overnight. It's in the news, and people were in China were all talking about it. And for me, it is still like a dream to think about these experiences from when I just landed Beijing and could freely move in the campus, meeting those excited and interested students, to the very first experiences of the pandemic in China, the lockdowns, and also in UK in February when things were not very clear. These changes were just really fast. And I also contacted Beijing Science and Technology Museum before the pandemic. They were very supportive. We scheduled a time for me to give a talk in the big lecture hall. They wrote an advertisement on the advertisement. They were just so nice that they even photoshopped my picture to make me look prettier, surrounded by blinking little stars. They sent out the advertisement to the public and took registrations from them, etc. But we had to cancel it in the end. Also, for places like Beijing Planetarium, we just could not schedule or had to cancel. So let's that's basically my trip. I was quite excited to deliver these workshops to the students, and for future plans, I had some good ideas after the visit to PKU. I think they were good ideas, but they are no longer like applicable because the situations have vastly changed, and I think it is way a bit above my level to answer this question now. But it's good to think of ideas in these uncertain times, how to continue this outreach. And yes, thank you.